Hi there, thank you for joining me to chat about Seeking Sister Wife. If you're a fan of the show, go ahead and hit the subscribe button, and also let me know your thoughts on the episode in the comments. Garrick and Dannielle are back home in this episode, so we see where they're at. I guess that's Danielle's parents' house. And so they're there with the parents, and then Samantha and Sam came over. And so now they're going to break the news that they got engaged in Mexico. So when they finally, so the dad, I think it was dad who asked how were things in Mexico, and he was like, they're good. And then he said, he told them that they proposed, which is not them, it's you, but okay. And so everybody's like looking, it's like time froze, because they're like, what the hell? Everybody's like, what? Like Samantha's face was just like, and Sam, that's her husband's name? It's Sam and Samantha, right? So her husband couldn't even believe it either. And they're like, why? You know, after all the stuff that happened with Roberta. And so, they didn't really have an answer. You know, they're all concerned, but Garrett couldn't care less. And so, Sam was like, why don't you take things slowly and get to know her before you get married to her to avoid this happening again? And he just doesn't care. So then Sam was like, now, if you're going to go get married to her, because he mentioned how they're contemplating which approach to go with, whether it's going to be the K1 or what he's calling a marriage visa, a spousal visa. I don't know where it's just weird. Marriage visa. I haven't heard that before, but I think he's referring to the spousal visa. And, he was like, okay, so if you do marry with her, this is something that you have to think through carefully, because, if you get married to her, and something happens, Dannielle is going to be left out and everything's going to go to her. So have you considered a prenup? And Dannielle looked like shocked, like she hadn't thought about that. But then she goes on to say that's something that we had just talked about or something, which I didn't believe, because she seemed like, oh my gosh, yeah, you're right. So what's going to happen with Dannielle? She's been with you the longest. She has your children, and she's divorced from you. And now you're going to marry Nathalia. What's going to happen to her? So, there's just a lot of things that I wish she would have just stood up for herself, because she's, she keeps saying that she's not like 100% in agreement, but she's just going along with the flow at her expense and at her, being hurt from this whole thing instead of speaking up for herself. So when they're talking to him further about this whole thing, he, whether it was a good decision to get engaged so soon, he goes on to talk about, and I feel like he just pulled this out of the air, about how, God talked to them and how, it was just this great. Did he mention the wind again? But he was mentioning how, they were just overcome with this laughter and joy, and God wanted them to do this. And I was just like, oh my gosh. Everybody was just like looking like this is BS. And, he just pulled this out of the air about why he believes so strongly that he needs to rush into this engagement because God told him to. So, the brother-in-law doesn't feel like it's a good idea. Of course, Sam is very vocal, because she was like, you're doing the same thing again. Same thing with Roberta. And then they asked about, okay, so what's going on with Nathalia? So he goes on to tell them how she's an attorney. She just finished school and she's trying to open her own practice. And so Sam, the brother-in-law, was like, okay, has she asked you for money? Will she need money to do that? Because Roberta had asked for money. So he didn't quite, I don't think he really addressed that. But the fact that she is trying to open a practice might require some, monetary donation from him, considering that he's engaged to her or something like that. So, in the whole conversation, he's trying to downplay everything. And, whatever he doesn't like, he just skips over. And in this episode, more than all the other episodes, I just noticed how everybody cares or is concerned about Dannielle other than Garrick. He doesn't care. Like later on in the episode, we see where he went mountain biking with his friend. He said his bill that he knew from grade school. So they're talking about, he's like, oh, so I heard you went to Mexico or whatever. And he said how he had asked about, aren't you concerned about what it would be like with two women under the same roof? And he was like, oh, well, if they get together and support each other and not let ego get in the way, then it could be a beautiful thing. And, he doesn't care if there's conflict between the women, as long as he have what he wants. And then she asked about, what about Dannielle? It's like this happened so quickly with Roberta, and she's probably still hurt over it. And he was like, well, no, not really. She kind of just feels like, people suck. But at the same time, just like with other relationships, after a breakup, you kind of feel cynical or whatever. And he just tries to downplay Dannielle's feelings in all of this so he can justify what he's doing. And so, it's just him. And then, when the guy keeps asking about what's going on, then he goes into the God part, like, oh, well, God will guide us and all this stuff. And he says in the episode, because when they were at the dad's house, the parents' house, he was saying that they were contemplating which way to go as far as what to do with Nathalia. And then now he's saying later on in the episode that they're going to go with the spousal visa. He's going to go back to Brazil because he felt like it was a part of the problem with Roberta was not spending enough time. So he's going to go to Mexico to spend some time. So, I don't know if then, later on in the episode, I get the feeling that Dannielle wasn't signing off on this marriage visa because she's still not really fully, in with this plan. But he's going to go there and he's going to marry her. And he says that he's going to spend some time there. Now, later in the episode, he says he's going to spend a month. They decided that he was going to spend longer. And I don't know who they is. Maybe he's talking about him and his other personality. That he's going to stay there. So he's going to go to Brazil for a month. So then later we see where he's driving to the airport. And he's driving himself to the airport. So I feel like this is something that Dannielle didn't quite agree on, and he didn't care. He just wants what he wants, and he's going there anyway. So in Dannielle's confessional, or in her little segment, she's by herself. It looks like she's at home while he's gallivanting off or taking off to Brazil. We see where they were having an argument about Nathalia not being in touch, because it seems like Nathalia is ignoring her messages because she could see that she saw them. But then when Garrick, she's in touch with Garrick all the time, and then she's not responding to her messages. So he is finding every excuse in the book to defend Nathalia not responding to her. Like, oh, well, maybe she's switching her phone, or did you not ignore her message? Sometimes you take 4 to 6 hours to respond. So he's trying to throw it back at her. But obviously she's concerned about the fact that Nathalia is not in touch with her either. So I don't know how this was intended to work, because Garrick is marrying Nathalia. Is Nathalia obligated to be in touch with Dannielle as well? But you can see where there's some kind of, she's feeling insecure or jealous or something. And so Nathalia is taking over everything, because now they're talking a lot more. Garrick doesn't seem to care. He's just in this little love bubble with Nathalia and doesn't care about Dannielle. And so Dannielle is questioning, the relationship. They're not really in a good place. She doesn't know how things are going to work with Nathalia, and she fears that he might leave her for Nathalia. She's questioning whether, when he goes to Brazil, is he really going to come back? And I really felt bad for her. I just wish that she would have spoken up. And I feel like maybe she did towards the end here. Because she didn't drive him to the airport like, you would expect. She was playing the role all along, although we know she wasn't like 100% in with the plan, but she didn't drive. It doesn't look like she drove him to the airport. So they're not really in a good place right now. And I wonder what happened with her and Nathalia, because at least they were somewhat friendly in Mexico, but then now there seems to be something going on in the mix that we haven't been told about what's really, really going on. But yeah, I feel bad for her, especially what her role is going to be in as far as financially, or should things, go left and Garrick decides to stay with Nathalia, she's the wife. He's going to get married in Brazil. So then now what becomes of, Dannielle? She's been the one who's invested all these years, has the children and all this stuff, but she's not his wife anymore. So I don't know how that's going to work, but I hope that she's trying to figure out something behind the scenes, or something, putting something in place to be able to take care of herself, or, get what's rightfully hers in the event that things go south, because Garrick is thinking with another brain right now. April, Dannielle, and Jen are going out today, and they're going out to this place called Smash It, and basically go in there and smash things. And so they're saying that, they feel like it would be a good idea. There's been tension in the house, and be a good idea to just get out and smash stuff and release the tension, I guess. But we don't know what this tension is. They're not showing this supposed tension. They're alluding to tension being in the house. But why aren't we seeing this? I don't know if I believe there's really tension, other than surrounding the fact that Dannielle left and they're not feeling completely secure with her. But anyway, this is what they're claiming. So they go in there and smash things or whatever. And then in the confessional, after Dannielle went in there and she was done, she's saying that she felt like it was nice of them to plan this outing for her, and that she feels like doing this little thing, she feels like they're getting a fresh start because they planned this thing for her, or something like that. And when she was saying that, I was wondering, like, why are they planning this thing for her? Why are they taking her out? Why are they feeling like she needs to release tension? When you want to smash stuff, it's like you're angry or you have built up tension. So why do they feel like she needs to release tension, or release stress, or something to that effect? So after they were done, April says that she wants to broach the topic again with Dannielle to see if she is ready to bring in another wife. And I was like, so this is the real reason why they're doing this, because after they wrapped up at the Smash It place, they go out to lunch. I don't know if it's lunch or dinner, but someplace to eat. And so she asked Dannielle how she's feeling about them dating again. Jen says that her and April have always been, willing or on the same page as far as bringing in other wives, having more children, and that they've been in this polygamous setup for 6 years already. And so, it's a little bit different for them because they're on the same page and they tend to go pretty fast, but it's a little different for Dannielle, and that's something that I guess they never had to consider before because they're so in sync, I guess, or on the same page about the whole thing. So I don't see where Dannielle really answered that, but she said that she's open-minded or more open to the idea or something like that. She didn't really say yes when she was asked. In the confessional, that she said that dating another woman makes her nervous. So she's still, it doesn't sound to me that she's still really in any different of a place than she was before she moved out. So I don't understand why she's back or why she's there pretending that she is into all of this. Because I don't see the excitement or, like she's really into this like they are. So Dannielle expressed that, she would like for them to really take the time to get to know the women, before they bring them into the family. And I'm not quite sure what this has to do with what Dannielle said, but then April brought up the fact that, to be honest, she said, what guarantee do we have that you won't leave again? So every time that, every so often she keeps bringing that up. She brought it up, when it first happened, when they had then they had that sit down. Now she's bringing it up again. Like, how many times is she going to have to hear about the fact that she left? So here she is saying it, and then she goes on to ask, like, you know, where are you now? Where do you think you are now versus before? What's so different now? You know, so she's trying to, I guess, find out, like, are you legit this time? You know, what has changed between then and now? Have you really changed, you know, between then and now? And, you know, if so, you're going to need to prove yourself. I think basically what this is about is guilt tripping her into saying yes. It's a setup to guilt trip her into saying yes. Because, so Dannielle says, you know, what's different now is that she doesn't want things to fester if there's something bothering her, to reach out to somebody and say something, which I feel like, hasn't she been doing that? She has expressed her reluctance to date before, and that was the main conflict that they were having. So I don't see how she's doing anything different, but this is what she's saying. But in her response, it doesn't sound like she's really wanting to do it. It sounds like she's doing it for them, just to avoid tension and conflict in the house, because she says that when she asked, like, April asked her, do you really feel like you're ready to date someone after having gone through that, and asking her, you know, how do they have any guarantee that she won't leave again? She said yes, which I was like, I don't buy it. Then she goes on to say, I don't think it's fair on everyone else, you know, to shoot things down. So it doesn't sound to me like she's doing it because she really wants to. She's doing it to avoid tension and holding up things that 3 people want. It's kind of like 1 against 3. What are you going to do? They're the majority and she's the minority. So what is she going to do? But again, I go back to the question as to why are you staying then? You're clearly not really that into this lifestyle as they are. Why are you here? So the Salahuddins are going to meet up with this girl that they met. They said they met her at the pool hall, and her name is Alexis. Alexis is 26 years old. Now, when they were getting dressed, I think Naeem was like, asked Nyla if she was nervous to meet her for the first time or something like that. It was coming off as if it was a first meeting, but then she said, no, you know, we saw her the first time. Then they go into how they met her, which I thought was weird, because how could you forget that this is not the first meeting? I don't know what was up with that. But anyway, so it looks like they're at some winery doing wine tasting or some kind of brewery. So she shows up and things just went downhill as soon as she showed up, because Naeem was like, the way she's dressing is not right for the occasion. She barely has any clothes on. She has this really short skirt, I think. And when she sat down, like, there's almost no clothes. The only way I could tell that maybe it was a skirt, because you could kind of see maybe the short piece, like, by her thigh. But other than that, like, if it wasn't like a skirt thing, like, you could probably see her underwear. It was so short. And so, you know, he wasn't impressed from that. And then when they were having conversations, when they were tasting the wine, the first one, she's like, oh, you know, what do you think of this one? What does it taste like? She was like, oh, it tastes pink. The next one, she's like, oh, it tastes like purple. What'd she say? Some kind of candy, purple something. It was referring to some kind of candy, and they were just like, wow, yeah, this was a bad idea. But it's like, how old are these people? Aren't they in their 40s? Looking at Naeem, he has to be at least 45, and she possibly 40. So I don't understand what they're expecting with a 26-year-old. Granted, most 26-year-olds are a bit more mature, maybe, than her, but she's like a good close to 20 years younger than them. Like, why would you think that you have anything in common with this lady? And so, as they're going through this conversation, they're just less and less impressed. So, you know, when they're talking, all I see is every 2 seconds, chips in her mouth. Like, did she just come out for a meal or something? Because she just seemed like she was starving to me. Like, she was just there to eat. And so they were talking about, how this would go. Like, Nyla was saying how, they would get to know each other first, and then maybe they could go on one-on-one dates. She's talking about how, what the boundaries would be if they were to move forward. And she was like, well, why not the other way around? Like, get to talk one-on-one, and then we come together. And she was Nyla was like, what? That she was like, that's just how, we want to do it based on our past experience. And she's like, why? It'll be fine. Like, she was trying to say, like, let's do it separately or something. Like, she wants to do something different from what she already told her that the plan was. Prior to that, Naeem had excused himself to go to the bathroom because he couldn't take it anymore. Between her constantly eating chips and the fact that she had not much of anything to say. So then when he came back, she said, so, she mentioned, getting to know each other together, and then, possibly going on one-on-one or, dates. And she's like, what's your take on that? And I was like, this girl, how dare her? And, she had just talked about that, but then now she's asking Naeem as if she's, when a kid goes to one parent, get an answer they don't like, they go to the other one and hoping to get another answer. That's what that comes off to me, because she already told you. Why then would you go ask the husband about what his take would be on that? As if she doesn't feel like, he's on board with that. And that's how Nyla was feeling. Like, we just talked about this. Why would you want to go to my husband to ask him something that I just, told you? I just told you this is how it's going to work. Why are you questioning what I told you to my husband, as if, he's the decision maker here and I have no say? So after that, she was really through, and she's like, oh yeah, we're having a good time. For some reason, she's feeling like they're having, we're gelling well, and we're having a great time. And just saying how awesome Naeem was, but she wasn't really saying much. There was not a whole lot of conversation. Naeem wasn't even smiling at all. So I don't know why she would think that things were going so well. So now Nyla is trying to shoo her off. She got to get out of here. And it's like, oh, well, we don't want to keep you too late. And it was nice, having you, or, you having us or meeting us. She's like, yeah, it's so great. And he's awesome. And I don't know. She felt like it was going so well. And then in her confessional, she's like, yeah, I think they're awesome. Things go so well. And she said something. And then she had this big smile on her face. And then all of a sudden, there's no smile. And she has this creepy look on her face. I was like, what the hell? Is something wrong with this girl? Like, what is happening? But anyway, after she left, they were both like, this is a no. Absolutely not. And Naeem says, she feels like she's too young. And Nyla was like, I don't feel like it's the age. It's just her maturity level. She's not. But he was like, yeah, it's the age and the maturity level. I feel like she could maybe be my daughter. So no. So yeah, she's a no. They're going to keep looking, but they feel like it's a good experience to get out and meet people and get to know people. And I guess they realize that they don't really want somebody that young. But at the same time, I'm just like, what do you expect? Somebody almost half your age. What do you think is going to happen? So at least now it's clear to them that, guess what? You're going to have to date somebody closer to your age if you want maturity. If you're going to date in the 20s, there's a high probability that this is what you're going to get. Lastly, the Ryans. So last week they went and showed up unannounced at Stephanie's place. They drove, 12 hours, did they say the drive was? From Texas to Colorado or something? I hope I'm remembering right. Showed up, and then now Becky is acting all shocked that Stephanie didn't want to see them. Well, she asked you guys not to come, and you showed up anyway. So, I don't know why she's so confused as to why she got the reception that she got. But anyway, she says that, she feels brokenhearted and betrayed, and she wonders if Stephanie was lying to them the whole time. And, Justin seems like down. He's a little sad. And he said when it first happened, he felt like he wanted to knock the windows out his vehicles. He was angry. He mentioned last week about something about, to suggest maybe, some kind of altercation with the guy. So he was angry. I don't know why he has this, he claims to love Stephanie so much and would do anything for her, but from what they're saying, they hardly ever see her other than when she wants something. So I don't understand where these strong feelings are coming from. But anyway, Becky said, so you're going to just, she didn't finish her sentence, but it seems, knowing how pushy she is, that she was going to suggest maybe reaching back out to her to see if she's sure that's what she wants. And so Justin was like, no, this was just too much disrespect. I don't want to keep chasing her, So he says that she doesn't respect her own words. So basically he's done with her. So he's clearly still angry. He says that he gave her everything that he could, and then now he has nothing to show for it. So Becky asked him, what he wants to do now. And he says, they'll keep looking, even though it was a tough experience. They want to keep looking. And then he goes on to talk about the benefits of polygamy, as far as, them always wanting to do that, and the strength of a polygamist family. And so they want to keep looking. So knowing how pushy Becky is, I'm sure probably next episode we're going to see her out there hunting again. But maybe they will learn from this experience with Stephanie that you can't buy love, and they need to stop being so pushy and stop being so creepy. You need to respect other people's boundaries, and maybe you could find somebody who wants to be interested in you or stay in a relationship with you, knowing that, if you say no, you're going to respect that and not go, stalking them all over God's creation. But anyway, this is all for the episode. Let me know your thoughts, like, comment, and subscribe.